What's good, Humble fam? How about y'all come on in and let's have us another visit here on the Humble Show. I am Grant Fletcher, and I am being joined by my co-host, Brandon Cox. Brandon, how are you, my friend?
Hey, doing cool. How about you?
I'm doing great, dude. I'm doing really good. Y'all may have noticed Moonbeam has been out a lot lately. And she was out last week. She's out this week. And basically, what's ultimately is what's having to happen, right? Is well, she's dead. Okay, the thing is, she is no more. She's left this mortal. No, she's not dead.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Spooky, right?
Very spooky.
It is tomorrow as we're dropping this. No, I mean things are just grinding at the Grindhouse.
They really and truly are. She has a very, very successful business, which is a wonderful thing to see. I'll be frank with you. So many businesses start in Philadelphia, and the first month it's going crazy. People are packing the place out, and then after about a month, old Philadelphia, Mississippi, old Neshobe County loses interest. And they just, hang out outside of the Walmart like they used to.
Yeah.
That is not the case in this instance. There has been so much positive reception on social media, local positive.
Oh, I
reception.
see it. Yeah.
And the place is packed out. I work there on occasion, and there's never a dull moment. There are people constantly coming in.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Brandon, because it's she keeps having to hire new people.
Yeah.
And then even after hiring new people, you still have to show up there and help out from time to time too, because it's still that busy. Like just last Saturday, you were up there helping out sometimes. So
and the previous Saturday.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I mean, I was doing Zoom trivia, and for the Grindhouse, we're doing that once a month, which has been a lot of fun. And she was. You were up there working, so
yeah,
that was cool, man. It's really cool to see. It's real dope to see. Like I said, they have the new space in next door, like in the same building. With all the cool memorabilia and the signed 8x10s and everything like that. So
people have been digging that as well.
Yeah, so it's really cool, man. It's really awesome. It's great to see your homies do something. It's great to see somebody in a small town doing something really cool that's, outside of the norm that people are into and people are liking. And like you said, I've been seeing people talk about it on social media. So the Grindhouse, like I said, they're grinding over at the Grindhouse. They're having a good time over there. I need to get over there sometime soon. Maybe there's going to be some sort of Christmas party here soon or something like that. I don't know.
That would be really cool.
I hope so. Maybe it'll happen. We'll see.
Yeah.
Brandon, tomorrow is Halloween. Do you have a song to recommend us for the spooky day?
Now that I think about it, nothing.
Okay, I'm sure you have a song though, right?
I listened to an album for the first time today. Songs from the City, Songs from the Sea, by a talented musician named Polly Jean Harvey, PJ Harvey. She's pretty fantastic. So the song is, I believe it's The Horse Hustle and the Hustler's Whore. I think that's what it's called. Last song on the A side. It's pretty fantastic. I like it a lot. The band, the Desert Sessions, covered it not long after this album came out, surprisingly. Mostly because I think that Polly Jean Harvey participated in those sessions, and she's like, I guess someone was like, hey, we like that song, let's cover it.
Cool.
My second suggestion would be a song called Call Me by the 80s duo Go West. They were kind of like a We Got Tears of Fears at Home, Tears for Fears at Home. And the music video for Call Me is one of the most exuberantly surreal music videos I've ever seen in my life. And so it's two things. Very, very surreal, in like sort of like 50s revival sort of thing, and it's real gay. It's
Okay.
real gay. And as per usual, I don't mean that in a bad way. And the thing is, like, at first I was like, man, this is like the way that this video is presented in like the imagery and everything. It very much reminds me of the way that I comprehended the world as like a toddler or a very, very young child. And
Okay.
then I was like, what does that say about myself? And then I had to remind myself I was a gay little kid. Like, grown adults like saw me, they're like, oh, I bet that kid watches a lot of Bravo. Uh it was appropriate, I think. So yes, Go West, Call Me. They had two good singles off that album. The rest of it's very white boy R&B. It's not as good as those two singles.
Okay. Okay. Well, there we go. When you said "Call Me," I was like, "Are we talking about Blondie? Or are we talking about something else?"
Right.
Which
Not
a
talking
solid
about
song
Blondie.
as well. It's hard to go wrong with
Oh, yeah.
Blondie, but I think I'm gonna go with a song called "Trick or Treat" by Chuck Berry. A lot of people may not have heard that one or whatever. It's not one that typically comes up on like when you search for Halloween songs.
People need to be knowing about Chuck Berry.
yeah,
He's like
and-
basically the godfather of rock and roll.
Right, exactly. Thank you for making that point for me.
Yeah.
It's a good song. It's a good tune. It's got a little beats, a little more upbeat or whatever. It's not like a spooky song,
Yeah.
which is might be the reason why it doesn't really get put on all those lists that often. But nonetheless, it's Chuck Berry and Chuck Berry doing Chuck Berry things, right? And more people need to be listening to that kind of stuff outside of just like his couple of like really big ones, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will go with "Trick or Treat" by Chuck Berry. Good tune. Good tune.
Very
All
good
around
choice.
good tune.
Absolutely.
Well, Brandon, do you have any plans for Halloween? It's on a Thursday. It's just in the middle of the week. So
Yeah. I got a little get together I'm gonna have with a couple of my friends. The guy in particular that we're having it at his house, he is a big Halloween fan. His house is located just off the square in town, and he has decorated it to the T. Like it is really cool out there. I think I briefly mentioned it last week because I'm gonna be the doctor, more than likely. That's gonna be my get up.
right,
And
you mentioned it last week.
Yeah. But I think it's gonna be a low key, cool time. We're gonna, hand out candy to the kids, and it's like one of those streets that like people come from, like parents bring
Oh,
their kids
good.
from other towns to go down this street. So it's there's gonna be a lot of kids to give candy to.
Okay. Cool. I like that. Yeah. Normally we just kind of go a little further deeper into our neighborhood and we find the good candy street to go down. And this year we had a couple ideas. My wife wanted to do Adam's Family, right?
Yeah. You mentioned that.
I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not what we're doing, but essentially my daughter got to the Spirit Halloween store and was pretty much changed her mind on every single aisle we went down. As 7-year-olds tend to do. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but anyways, we skipped from aisle to aisle there. And one of the things that I threw out was maybe we do like Universal Monsters or whatever. And since my daughter couldn't really make up her mind, what's going to happen is I'm going to go as Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
My wife is going to be the bride of Frankenstein. And then my daughter's going to be a pastel pink witch is what she decided to go with.
I like that. I like that.
You know, it's a very, like I said, it's very much her. Like it's very, that's her kind of thing. But so we usually hit this one street, right? And you go down the street and there's some houses you can hit along the way. And then you hit sort of like the end and it just kind of branches out into like a block that you can walk around. And like once you hit that block, like that's the part of the neighborhood where you get all like the houses that are like really decked out or whatever.
Yeah.
And my best friend and his wife usually come with us to walk on Halloween. And he and I always look forward to Drunk Superman's house.
Drunk Superman?
We call this guy Drunk Superman.
Oh boy.
because that's what he is. He's Superman every year, and every year he looks like he's having a great time. And his house it's got like the little like the like inflatable tentacles that come up out of the ground. There's like tons of animatronics all over the place. There's like light up elements. He's got jack-o'-lanterns, like just different jack-o'-lanterns in the front. He's got like projectors and stuff like that. He goes all out. And there's always like a party happening on there, even if it's on like a Tuesday or a Thursday as it is this year. Like Drunk Superman goes all out. And last year we went over there.
Yeah.
And of course it was all decked out or whatever, but he didn't someone else was answering the door. And we were kind of bummed out. We're like, oh man, we didn't get to see him. And so we walk around the corner to continue on a little bit, and I look through the kitchen window, and through the window, I can see him in there. So I like tap my friend. I'm like, hey, look. And he was like, he looks in there, and he's like, oh yeah, the legend continues. So that's the highlight.
Peeping on Drunk Superman.
Drunk Superman, yeah.
See, that is I haven't seen any form of superhero media in the longest time. That is what I want to see. I never saw Hancock, but from what I understand, it's like a deadbeat hero, but then he turns into a real. I want to see deadbeat hero the entire time. I want to see no redemption.
Right.
I want to see. Look, I want to relate to a superhero, and look at this 40 in my hand.
There you go. There you go. Only, he never learns his lesson.
Never learned.
Yeah.
Like Lex Luthor is just like, this isn't even fun anymore. He's not doing anything.
Yeah, I get it. Nah, man, I'm down with that. I'm down with that one as well. But yeah, I want to know what everybody's planning on doing. Let me know. Let me know in the comments, Humble Fam, what you're doing on Halloween.
What are you doing on Halloween, guys?
What are you doing? You know what I mean? What are you doing on Halloween?
What are you guys doing on a Thursday?
What are you doing on a Thursday this week? Yeah, I'm sure everybody's already like celebrated last weekend, but still, I think it's always a great time. Like it's one of those things that you just remember forever.
Oh, for sure.
And that's really more of less of what we wanted to talk about, because what we mentioned speaking on tonight was just talking about like retro Halloween, like specifically like the 1980s and 1990s Halloween, like what it was like when you were growing up, when I was growing up, maybe even early 2000s, depending on, because I mean a lot of our listeners are of that age. Maybe it was the early 2000s, but for me and for Brandon, I was alive in the last few years of the 80s. And we really hadn't matured from the 80s and the early 90s by the time I was really conscious.
No.
So, it was all the same. And the thing is, right? Like the thing is the costumes.
Yeah.
Back then. We had a store around here called K&B. I don't know if y'all had them or not. I don't know how far they went. Don't exist anymore.
I lived in Slidell whenever I was younger, and I vaguely remember K&B.
Yeah, you would have had K&B in Slidell. Yes, for sure. Slidell, right outside of New Orleans. Yeah. It's like a purple store, very LSU-y in that kind of way, but it was kind of like a Walgreens, but maybe a little bit of everything kind of in there sort of thing, right? So we'd get the costumes from the K&B, and the costume was like this. Like one year I remember specifically I was the Shredder from Ninja Turtles. Yeah. And so you get this costume that doesn't look like the Shredder at all.
No.
It's this like, what even material was it?
It really depends on, man, I don't know, because
it was like this plasticky, vinyl-y stuff.
And it feels like it feels like it would have stretched. Like it feels like polyester-esque.
Yes.
But if you were to take your child hands and attempt to stretch it, your sweet little child hands would rip it.
It would rip. Yeah, I ripped a couple of mine pretty quickly. Yes.
That was the worst material, and now that's what all the clothing from Temu is
pretty much made out of that, right?
Yeah. And people are like, "Oh, can you believe I got this for $8?"
But it was, it was like a onesie essentially, right? Like you'd put it on, like it was like pants and a shirt all in one.
Yeah.
And like it didn't look like Shredder per se. It just had like a scene on it, like a Ninja Turtles like scene was on the shirt, right? Like some kind of graphic that you'd have on like a folder that you'd buy from the store, like Trapper Gear, whatever. They just put it on the costume. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And then the mask the mask was this really thin, flimsy plastic thing that you put on.
It's and it was tied to your face by a piece of elastic,
Yep.
thin elastic string,
Which would also pop, right?
Oh, absolutely. Even the thing, like, I feel like whenever I was younger, I got those masks where like the string had already popped and someone in the factory like tied another tie. Like, I don't never know. It could stretch very far, but they would end up tearing somehow.
No, it would stretch far and it would hurt whenever it popped too, because I remember that as well. And then it had like a little slit for you to breathe out of, this tiny little thing that was cut in there.
And it didn't do any good. Like if it was like really ritzy and it had like, eye coverings as opposed to just holes, it would just fog up those eye shades.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's because some of them did have, like you said, just like coverings or whatever. And if you suck your tongue in the little slit too, it would cut your tongue. It was sharp.
Yeah.
It was a sharp
dude,
thing.
The thinnest of plastic.
Yeah, you couldn't not like put your tongue in there.
You had to.
You had to. You had to.
It was legally required.
It was against the law. That was the Halloween costumes of the day back then. So
yeah.
I mean, you might complain about like what it costs, for a costume, at Target or whatever now, but good Lord, man. And they may not be the best quality thing, but man, what we used to wear back in the 90s, in the 80s, pretty boring, pretty awful.
It's boring, it's awful, but at the same time, whenever you're 4 and 5 and you get a costume, it's not like, unless you're just I grew a foot every year growing up, so like tall, there wasn't like from 4 to 5 you could wear the same costume, so I can see the practicality of how cheap it was, but good golly, was it cheap?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I want to say like really until I don't know, much later on. Like when I got like some Batman costume with like the fake muscles, the foam muscles, was it even somewhat passable?
Yeah.
But gosh, I couldn't even tell you what year that was that like those really started to fall out of style. But I'm curious to know, Humble Fam, like did y'all ever wear those costumes? What were some of the more memorable ones that y'all wore back in the day? Like, what's your most memorable Halloween costume as a child? That's what I want to know. That's what I think would be really cool to know as well. Now, another thing about like the 90s, one of the things that everybody had, and I've talked about this before, is the generic Halloween sounds cassette tapes.
Oh my gosh. Hold up. I got one pulled up here.
Do you have one really?
Oh, dude, I think anybody who's from this era is going to recognize this.
Okay. Wait, get a little closer.
It was like a shaking ghost.
Yeah. Get a little closer. I want to hear it. Yeah.
Okay,
what's the sound you got for us?
Oh, was I not close enough?
Put it on, right on the mic. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the sound? I think it's being mostly filtered out, but I know what you're talking about.
What?
I think it's being mostly filtered out by the call.
Oh, hold up. Let's see.
Brandon has a way of pulling it up here.
Set up professional audio in audio settings.
What are you doing?
What a bunch of nonsense. No, I can. I was asking if I was like recording music. I think it for the sake of those cool guys at the RIAA. They're like, no, we can't.
Okay, I get that now. Yeah, no, I can emulate it, right? Back in the 90s and in the 80s too, we had these decorations, right? You'd have like a little ghost that would hang, or a bat, or even sometimes like a little motionette witch, and it would do this like.
That is precisely the noise. And my sound. God, is that one of the most nostalgic noises I know of?
It is. It really is. And the terrible thing about it is, though, all of those decorations, you just turn them on and they just make that noise. And that's it.
Good.
And they just don't stop until you turn them off.
Good. I am astonished that that the film studios have not attempted to like make a film based on that noise.
Oh man, you really could. You could,
and I'm glad that they haven't.
You'd turn it on, and it would go for a little bit, and you'd watch it for a second, and then you'd say, okay, that's enough. And then you'd turn it off, and then you'd leave it off until next year.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Another
Maybe,
thing
maybe
we had
next
too,
time.
I think they still have these. Other thing we had that my mom was fond of was the door coverings. You know, it was like this like plastic sheet
Yeah,
that you put over your door that you hung over your front door.
yeah.
Somehow I remember we had one for Christmas, we had one for Halloween. For some reason, that was the style at the time. But I want to say I've seen them not too
They
long
they
ago
they
too. If you know
have
what I'm talking about,
they have door coverings these days. I've
yeah,
seen them on Amazon, and much like every other cheap product on Amazon, like it's clearly not a shot of the actual product. Like
sure.
someone just photoshopped something over the door, and like a white family going like, oh no, like they're scared by the door.
Of course,
Um, like to the side, and it's great. I like it. It's wonderful,
of
the
course.
the times we live in. But yeah, yeah, they make door coverings still, and they make door stickers and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to know like what everybody's favorite Halloween decoration was that they had because there's always that thing that you had to like I said, that you'd bring it out to be a decoration, but you'd have to play with it or something like that when you were a kid. You know,
Yeah.
it really, really makes sure you get all of the mileage out of that thing that you could. What else? What else are we missing, Brandon? Like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about.
So, on a more broad sense, I
Hmm.
guess, just culturally speaking, I really, and I think it might still kind of exist today, but I think it was in full force whenever we were growing up. There was a playful yet sincere um adult appreciation of scaring the heck out of little kids.
Yeah.
um like I it wasn't anything that was sinister. It wasn't anything that like, oh, I'm gonna make them pee their pants. It wasn't anything that nefarious. um Bob, get off the table. um it wasn't anything that villainous. But my god, like, whether it be actions that the adults would take, or like the ways that they would like decorate their home, or like just like it, like adults went all out to make sure that you remember that Halloween. Like it wasn't always your parents. In fact, it was never my parents. My
Right.
parents were always the ones who were like, "Hey, don't have too much fun because Satan will grab you and we'll never see you
Of
again."
course. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. As they do, like
As he
they were always
does.
like, "You need to be thinking about Christmas while you go trick or treat."
Yeah. In fact, start planning for Easter right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But like, man, like I just distinctly remember one of my earliest like Halloween memories, other than like, you know, going to like three houses, um, and getting enough candy to feed, an entire family. But like my parents taking me to like this one house, and I guess these guys were kind of ahead of the time because this doesn't feel like early 90s Halloween technology. Like this must have been Elon Musk's house.
It must have been some
Uh,
sort of time traveler.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But like they had a. I'm sure that you remember in the late '90s, like the bleeding ghost face
Oh
masks.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Revolutionary.
they had like outside of their door, like on the side of the house, they had like a bleeding mask that just did that by itself in
Oh,
like
cool.
'93. That like, they were on some future shit. Yeah, and like like my parents like brought me up to that, and like I freaked the fuck out.
I'm sure you
That's
did.
just it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. And speaking of which, like back whenever like there wasn't just one store in town where you bought most things. I distinctly remember there being, and it might have been a year-round thing. I distinctly remember there being a mask store in the mall. Um, it was like fully like you had just like masks from wall to wall, ceiling to floor. It was really impressive. And I remember like being like taken into that and just losing my
I'm
mind,
sure you did. That
like
sounds
in a
awesome.
bad way, just
Oh.
screaming, and like my dad laughing his ass off, like just like me, like I'm pretty sure that like I voided every everything that I had within
Yeah,
me. I'm
every
sure that
orifice in your body was leaking. Yeah.
oh my god, yes. But then like even like you get past the toddler stage and like, oh, scary wolf mask, that's not really a scary wolf, that's just some bozo.
Yeah.
Even past that point, I remember like being 7 or 8, and like one house in particular in the neighborhood I lived in afterwards, having a very like well designed maze in their garage, like, and it wasn't
Oh.
anything just incredibly sinister, but just like you felt like, especially as a child, trick-or-treating on your own, you're like, oh, whew, I might not get out of this alive, who knows.
That's
um
I always appreciate that, man. People still do that to this day. They set up some sort
yeah,
of like little, tent or something like that or whatever, some sort of like quote unquote haunted house in the driveway, for kids
and
to go
it's
grab the candy from.
it's awesome. But like, so I mentioned all the attractions, but like beside all these like scary things that children would freak out about, was at least one adult with their arms crossed, just like, yeah, yeah, I put in a lot of work into this. Yep, yep. I saw a child ruin his costume that he was going to wear once. But you know what? That's what we call a win in this neighborhood. Uh, just like the once again, not sinister, not nefarious, not villainous, but just like, yeah, scared that little baby child.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I wonder gosh, like what do you think was the first horror movie you watched? And how young were
Oh
you? I don't
man.
even know if I could tell you like what the first scary movie was that I watched.
I remember being very interested in horror films,
Hmm.
like from a young age.
Oh, actually, I know what mine was. You go ahead.
I'm trying to think. I really am. The and I'm probably like forgetting so many really good ones, but like the one that sticks out to me distinctly in my mind, and I think I might have talked about it before, but like whenever I was like 8 or 9, I saw the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow film,
Yeah.
and my God, what a ride that was! Because I know I've talked about it on the channel before, but just like, it's some of the shots in that movie are so visceral, because like they're taking like tweezers and examining uh neck skin that's been severed, and
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
no, they get all close up on those shots. They do these gratuitous close ups of the gore. Yeah.
like I don't know if I've ever seen much like that. But it's really intense, and I just remember like gritting my teeth the entire time, like, yeah, Hoss, yeah, I'm so glad I'm watching this, but I'm very scared.
Yeah, we actually just watched that back a couple weeks ago, as a matter of fact, and
Yeah,
it still holds up. It's still a good movie, but there are some shots in there where he really does go all in,
yeah,
to
and
a greater degree than what he normally goes in his movies.
yeah, and I'm trying to think of Johnny Depp is he stars in it, and like I didn't realize until I watched that movie years later that it's kind of a dark comedy in a way,
Oh,
because
for sure.
like it's Johnny Depp, people getting their heads sliced off, and he's like, oh dear, oh no, my gosh, oh gosh.
Well, also, like it's like he's trying to invent forensic science as he goes too.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't really exist, and he's trying to come up with like there's like somewhere at some point in time he says something like you never move the body, and they ask him why, and he's like but because like there's got to be a good reason why, but I just don't
yeah,
know yet.
yeah.
So no, that one is worth a rewatch. I do recommend that one. For me, like the first scary movie I watched, I mean, I grew up watching Monster Squad. Like I've said a bunch of times on the show that, that was one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. And I think the first actual like horror movie I ever watched was Troll 2.
Are you shitting me?
I'm not kidding you at all. I'm not kidding you at all.
Oh my God, where did you watch Troll 2?
At my dad's house, okay? For
was it
some
something
reason,
that
like
he
my
rented?
dad, what's that?
Was it something that he rented?
Yeah, so like my dad would, he brought us to Blockbuster on a Friday
Yeah.
night. And my older brother was like 4 years older than me. So I was probably like, I might have been like 5 or 6, like way too
Yeah.
young to I mean, it's not a good movie. It's not a scary movie. But when you're 5 or 6,
it's not a good movie.
when you're 5 or 6, man, it does something to you. And I don't even know why my older brother like gravitated to this, because he would have been like 9 or 10. You know what I mean? So, he rented Troll 2. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from or whatever. But I remember watching this movie and just being like, just generally weirded out the entire time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just weirded out. Like I watched the whole thing. I never like ran away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I did find it disturbing, quite disturbing.
Yeah.
They're eating her, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god! Yeah. So, I mean, I think that was the first actual like horror movie I ever watched. It changes you. It shapes you.
And the
in a
thing
way.
is, like, I feel like, God, like, oh my, like, if I ever have children, like, that's like, I'm gonna raise them on bad movies. Like, because I just remembered, like, I watched Baby Geniuses whenever I was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And like, I haven't gone back to watch it since, mostly because, like, why would I? That's one of the supposedly one of the worst films ever released.
Yeah, they made like 3 of them.
God.
Yeah.
But like, and apparently the second one is like so much worse than the first. But apparently the first is, it's no Shakespeare in Love. But
No, it is not.
I think that's just gonna like build like a, because nobody ever starts a child with like the worst art or like the worst music or like the worst film. But like, just think of like their innate instinctual appreciation for like, if you start it at the bottom, and like you just work your way up. Like, I just imagine that a child's appreciation for the arts will be so much more solid and concrete if you start them with trash.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody, show your toddler Troll 2.
Troll 2, yeah, there you go. Look, I just looked it up. Baby Geniuses, there were 2 of them.
Yeah.
The second one was called Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
Yeah.
Let's see. Although the film was not well received by critics, its commercial success on home video prompted a sequel, Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2. Let's see here. John Voight stars in the movie. Okay.
Oh, God bless him.
With reception much worse than the original.
Yeah.
It was a box
like,
office bomb and is widely considered among the worst films of all time.
Yeah, I remember that, and Son of the Mask came out around the same time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Everybody was just like, what's going on?
And Jamie
here?
Kennedy didn't deserve that. He didn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
did.
he probably deserved
Absolutely did. He made a documentary after that was
Okay.
basically like just a big complaint about critics, and he cries in the arms of a critic in that movie. He's like, "You were just so mean, no," and just like a hug, like.
But
Jamie
about the
Kennedy.
mask too?
The Son of the Mask, yeah.
yeah.
Or it could have been, I think it was Son of the Mask that it's like, it wasn't that bad. No, I don't know why he had such an attachment to a film that I'm guessing he didn't write or produce or direct or anything.
That might have been one of his first actual big thing, though, huh?
I think this was after Malibu's Most Wanted and the Jamie Kennedy experiment and all that.
Was it? Was it after Scream?
Oh, it was absolutely after Scream. Like Son of the Mask was like
Oh, that's
2000.
2005. Yeah. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. Wow, that came out way later than I thought it did.
Yeah. Jamie Kennedy does not deserve much in life.
Listen, I like Scream. I don't like Jimmy Kennedy. I have no issues with you if you're watching.
Yeah.
He used to follow me on Twitter. He doesn't anymore.
Ah, well, let's.
Then again, I haven't checked in on Twitter in a long time, so who knows?
Yeah.
But he did follow me for a minute there.
Oh,
I don't have, like, we're not playing trivia, but I do have something to see if you can kind of figure it out here.
oh boy.
I've got a few here, Brandon. We've done Name That Band before.
Yeah.
I guess. Well, no. Hold on. Let's talk about this real quick too, since we didn't chop it up. But I did tell you, because I mentioned earlier the Halloween Sounds tapes, right?
Yeah.
There was just like these generic like rattling chains and creepy ghoul sounds and cackling witches and things like that.
Yeah.
And for some reason, everybody had one. Like everyone just had one laying around somewhere. Like, so you're supposed to put it on at a party or something like that, but I don't know why you would, instead of just putting on, I don't know, music.
I think it's for like, I distinctly remember the Hallowses back in like 2008, 2009, put on one of those for like the sake of like trick-or-treating soundtrack. Like they put it at like the door, not like the interior door entrance, but like the entrance to their home at the exterior of it.
Well, there's nostalgia associated with it now, but
yeah,
that's actually like burned into my memory. I've told this story on the show before, but for since it's Halloween, we may as well tell the story again.
Let's tell the story.
But like, I grew up next door to a haunted house. I, from the time I was born until I was 8 years old, we lived in this little trailer that was on a plot of a big piece of property that was owned by some Shriners, the little guys who wear the little fez hats and they drive the go-karts and parades and things.
Yeah.
And they had their meeting hall on one end of the property, and they had this haunted house attraction on the other end of the property. It was just like a business they could run for just a couple months out of the year to make some extra money and then shut down. And then the trailer that we were in, like the little section we rented, they just put that all the way up against the haunted house. So it was like the trailer, and then a chain link fence all overgrown with Louisiana foliage, and then like the yard part of the haunted house. It was like like you bought your ticket and you went through the yard, and a guy with a chainsaw would chase you, and you'd go through a spooky tunnel, and then like there was a spooky bridge, and whatever else, and then you'd go into the house.
Yeah.
So and from when I was born until I was 8, by the time we got home from school, until I went to bed at night, it was just that sound of the Halloween sounds playing over the loudspeakers outside with intermittent chainsaws and screaming teenagers.
Which I know that I've mentioned it. I know that I mentioned it in previous episode, at least in one previous episode. I hope I didn't mention this. God, we might just be repeating ourselves. Who knows? I had a coworker during Christmas time. He had a CD of not Christmas music, but Christmas ambient sounds.
That's right. You told me about this.
He would play at his desk on loop for a month. It was just like a track of sleigh bells, like it wasn't like jingle bells. It was just someone saying, doing it 3 times, and then you would have a 4-minute track of ho ho ho, ho ho ho, and like you would think that this guy was like some Dadaist, like ironic humor genius. No, he was just dumb.
Oh, that's good.
It's real good.
Oh,
it wasn't at the time, but like looking back on it.
Oh, that's good, man. Oh, that's wild. Like, and again, that's not what that's for.
No,
that wasn't for you to play at your desk.
It wasn't to play at the office. And like I would talk to people, and the crazy thing is, they would be like,
"Oh my
let
God,
him play it. Let him play it.
Let him have this. He doesn't have much else."
Yes.
Oh God, that's good. Jeez. All right. Well, look, let's see if you can figure this out, Brandon. We've done Name That Band before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a band. I'll give you the year that they sort of formed, the year that they became active.
Yeah.
And a number of members, and we'll see if you can guess this. We'll see if you can come in under your bid. I'll give you a bid, see if you can guess you know, who the
Yeah.
band is based on
Each time
a
I'm
little bit
gonna
of
name
information.
like the most amount of members.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So this is an
Alright.
industrial metal band, industrial rock band. That's began being active in 1981. Let's see.
Is it Skinny Puppy?
Wikipedia. I like the pre-guessing. It's
Skinny
not,
Puppy
though.
started real early.
They did start along. Yes, they did.
Oh
They
wait,
very
is it
much did.
Ministry?
Well, it is Ministry. Yes.
Gotcha. Dude, like whenever you say industrial metal,
Right. There's only
starting in
so many that
81,
you go to. Yeah.
it's literally either because like whenever you think industrial metal, you think like Nine Inch Nails was started in like what 86, or like Godflesh, which started around the same time. But like if you're starting in 81, it's either Skinny Puppy, who they were never really like metal, but then it's Ministry.
Right. Right. Of course. You're right. Look, I pretty much gave it to you.
Yeah, you did.
Let's see here. Hold on one second. I had something here. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. I've got another one here.
All right.
They're we'll say a post-punk band, an avant-garde band, if you will, perhaps experimental.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They became active in 1978.
Oh.
And they only list 4 members.
Oh boy. So you said experimental, post-punk, and what?
They became active in 1978. Not going to tell you like when they would have not been active or whatever, but I'll tell you they became active in 78.
It's experimental and post-punk. Okay. And only 4 members?
Yeah, avant-garde. There's other genres we hit here too, but I don't want to give away too much.
All right.
Yeah, 4 members. How few of those members do you think you would need?
Oh, I'm gonna need 3.
3? All right, let's see if you can do this in 3.
All right.
I mean, it's not for any points or anything like that, but still.
Yeah.
The first one is David J, just the letter J.
Yeah.
Then we have Kevin Haskins.
Yeah.
And then Peter Murphy. Those are your 3.
Oh, that's Bauhaus.
That is Bauhaus, correct?
Yeah.
Daniel Ash being the last member there that we did not list.
I thought you were
one.
Go...
You got 1 off of 0 names. You got another one off of 3.
I thought you were gonna go real, like whenever you say like experimental post punk, I thought you were gonna be like like This Heat or like something, but like that's
like that.
they get pretty experimental.
Well, I've got another one for you here too. It's a post punk band, alternative rock band, if you will, that became active in 1976.
Oh wow, post punk in 76.
That's right.
Okay.
Wikipedia lists a lot of members. They have, let's see. I don't even know here where to start at.
Oh boy.
Because there's a lot. Tell you what. I'm gonna give you 9 members.
All right.
I'm even going to include touring members as well, because
Lord,
some of these are a little surprising when you think about it.
Give me some bass members.
Well, I can give you some bass members, sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But what there's probably only like 2 that matter. But how many do you think you would need?
You said you were going to give me 9. Give me 9.
Yeah. Okay. Starting with this one here, this is a touring member of the band back in the late 70s, Robert Smith.
Oh, Susie and the Banshees. Yeah.
And you're like, wait, who would Robert Smith have toured with that he was not actually a member of a band with back in the late 70s? Yeah, it's Susie and the Banshees, yes. Oh, that's good. All right, fine. I've got one more for you here.
All right.
This is a metal band that became active in 1981.
Uh-huh.
And let's see here.
Just like a straight up
They
heavy
also
metal
have
band?
a lot of members here, too. Yeah, heavy metal.
Yeah.
5. We'll say, ooh, no. Let me see how far back I want to go, because there were a lot of, just like we said, touring members and stuff on here too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 7. We'll go up to 7.
All right.
How many do you want?
I want 6.
Okay. Karsten van der Volsing, Timmy Hansen, Becky Baldwin, Mike Weed, W-E-A-D, Bjarn T. Holm, and Hank Sherman.
You said they started in 81?
81.
Heavy metal band, 81.
How about
That's
this?
very...
First wave black metal.
Oh, was it oh shoot. I'm not good at first wave black metal, and I know the name of the band that I need to oh my gosh, I'm gonna be kicking myself whenever you tell me this.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you the name of the band. I'll give you one more member. I'll give you that last member you don't have.
Yeah.
King Diamond.
Oh, Merciful Fate.
Yes, it is Merciful Fate. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, look, you were what, 3 for 4 on that one.
Yeah,
You got one of them so fast I didn't even have time to actually ask the question. So
which
I think
is,
you did well.
I feel like means something.
You're like a champion. You're a champion, Brandon. You're a champion,
I'm a
my friend.
Champion of the spooky music.
Well, listen, let's go. Yeah, look, like I said, y'all, I want to know all about those. All those Halloween things you did when you were a kid. You know what I mean? Like, tell me about like the costumes and tell me about those early horror movies that like freaked you out as a child too. Like, that's what I really want to know about. That's what I'm really looking forward to hearing from y'all out there in the Humble Fam. Y'all check this out here. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a like and you hit subscribe and you give us a comment and you follow us on all of our social media platforms out there as well, y'all. We will be back here for another visit on The Humble Show next week. But until then, stay humble.